Last time, I applied Marxist theory to Shakespeare's King Lear and detected some anxieties within the play regarding the emergence of capitalism. In this video, I'm going to move the Marxist lens over to a Shakespearean comedy, The Merchant of Venice. Before we get into that, though, let's quickly recap some key Marxist concepts. So, as we discussed last time, Marx and Engels, the authors of the Communist Manifesto, analyse the way in which society is structured to produce and distribute goods and services. They refer to this structure as the mode of production. When Marx and Engels stepped back and took a look at the whole of human history, they saw a sequence of different modes of production. Before the birth of agriculture, humans were hunter-gatherers, who sourced food, goods and materials from the natural world. They then shared these goods among their tribe, which is why Marx and Engels referred to this early mode of production as primitive communism. During the Middle Ages, European societies were structured according to a mode of production called feudalism. Feudalism divided society into 4 different categories: the king, the lords, the knights, and the peasants, and placed these categories into a hierarchy called the feudal system. Each rung on the feudal system served the rung above them, and they received something in return for their service. In other words, it was a system of mutually beneficial relationships. Each category of person gave something, and in return they got something. Eventually, feudalism was replaced by a new mode of production, called capitalism. Under capitalism, the means of production are owned by individuals and businesses. These individuals and businesses employ other people to work for them, and the employees are then given a wage in return for their work. In Shakespeare's time, society had moved away from feudalism and into capitalism. However, this change was still relatively new, and capitalism was in its infancy. Consequently, some Marxist critics suggest that Shakespeare's works have been moulded by this enormous socio-economic shift. They uncover ambivalence within Shakespeare's plays regarding the advent of capitalism, and shine a light on dramatic instances or episodes which appear to show concern about the rise of materialism and the increasing commodification of people and relationships. In my last video, I demonstrated how these anxieties are present in King Lear. In this play, Lear rewards his daughters with a portion of land based on their ability to profess their love for him. In doing so, he views love, which is an abstract quality, in numerical or commercial terms. He sees a conversion rate between love and land, and attaches a price to this abstract quality. And as a result of his decision to do this, every social bond in the play breaks down, and tragedy ensues. So, as we discussed last time, King Lear appears to warn against quantifying feelings or commodifying relationships. And the same anxiety is perhaps detectable in The Merchant of Venice. After all, the rhetoric of commerce and transaction is rife in this play. Words like debt, thrift, and value dominate the dialogue between Portia and Bassanio, for example. In fact, Bassanio is motivated to court Portia for economic reasons. He says that his lavish lifestyle has disabled mine estate, and so he sees Portia, who he describes as a lady richly left, as a solution to his financial troubles. Portia has an economic value, therefore, and this idea is reinforced in the play through the courtship game that the suitors must play in order to win her. The suitors choose between a casket of gold, silver, and lead, and whoever chooses the casket with Portia's portrait inside is rewarded with her hand in marriage. Although Portia's portrait is concealed in the lead casket, the least attractive metal, on the grounds that the world is deceived by ornament, the game nevertheless conflates Portia with a material item, which presents the suitor's courtship of her as a form of transaction. In fact, people and their feelings are constantly being measured in materialist terms in this play. Just as we saw with King Lear, who quantified his daughter's love for him in land, Bassanio and Gratiano's love for and fidelity to their wives is symbolised by the rings that Portia and Nerissa give them. These material items are used to measure and quantify Bassanio and Gratiano's loyalty, and the loss of them is the cause of Portia and Nerissa's mock outrage in Act 5, rather than any real act of disloyalty or infidelity. Similarly, Shylock also materializes and quantifies abstract qualities and feelings. He obsessively maintains that justice will only be achieved and his desire for vengeance will only be satisfied if a pound of flesh is taken from Antonio. Carly Graham argues that critics and directors who present Shylock as an avaricious miser are mistaken, because he is not really interested in money or jewels at all. Instead, revenge alone has value to him. And though I agree with Graham here, I would also argue that Shylock nonetheless interprets and plots his revenge in economic and numerically specific terms. In other words, revenge is perceived by Shylock as a material item, a pound of flesh. The play shows us, however, that reducing feelings and abstractions such as love, loyalty, marital fidelity, hatred, vengeance, and justice to material items in this way is dangerous. Attaching a value to these abstractions converts human interactions and relationships into a stale form of transaction, in which unconditional kindness, goodwill, and mercy are absent. For example, when Portia, whilst disguised as a lawyer, asks Shylock if he has arranged for a surgeon to stop Antonio's wounds lest he bleed to death, Shylock is confused as to why he should do so, as it is not a clause in the legal agreement between him and Antonio. He asks, is it so nominated in the bond? When Portia argues that it is not so expressed, but that he ought to do so regardless for the sake of charity, Shylock rejects the suggestion immediately, insisting that I cannot find it, 'tis not in the bond. A Marxist reading of The Merchant of Venice, therefore, could suggest that the play reacts to the emergence of capitalism, a mode of production that was still establishing itself at this time, by meditating on the dangers of commodifying human life and human feelings. Remember that feudalism, the mode of production that came before capitalism, was a system of mutual benefit for mutual reward. It was a hierarchy of mutually dependent relationships. By contrast, capitalism prioritizes profit and, perhaps, views people, their feelings, and their relationships with others through an economic lens and attaches a material value to everything. King Lear expresses ambivalence about the evolution from feudalism to capitalism by demonstrating how social relationships and obligations break down when feelings and relationships are framed in economic terms. Goneril and Regan, for example, don't feel any duty of care for their father at all. And we can see the same thing happening in The Merchant of Venice. Shylock doesn't feel a duty to provide a surgeon for Antonio and save his life. So this is perhaps an expression of anxiety on Shakespeare's part regarding the loss of feudalist social obligations and commitments and the move towards a more materialistic capitalist society. So what do you think? As ever, this is only one Marxist interpretation of the play. There are no correct answers, and you're completely free to agree or disagree with it as you choose, provided you always support your opinions with evidence from the text. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you'd like to see more content from Notable, take a look at my Patreon page. I've linked it down in the description. My patrons get access to this bunch of grade-boosting goods, whilst also receiving detailed personal feedback from me on a piece of written work a month. So again, go to the link in the description to take a look and boost your grades today. Thanks so much again for watching, and I'll see you next time.